Hello, family. So I was trying to pin the message. Big up everyone in the house. All right. So I was just trying to pin the message and it was pausing. There we go. All right. Let me see if I can find stuff. So welcome to the Black Bear Broadcast. I'm your host, Brother Raven. Got a very fantastic show today. Just make sure everything is running smoothly. Don't forget to tell a friend to tell a friend we're live. This is the show for you. That's right, for you. Uh, okay, I'm just trying to do that. Says cool. All right. Let's hold on. I will probably I'm sorry, screen messages. All right, so let me get our fantastic PDF that I should be able to find now. Share screen. Da-da-da. Where are we? Here we are. All right, so we've got a very important show. I think it's Windows. Hmm, what's it called? Sisters Help on the Brother. I think it's that one. Yeah, there you go. All right, there it is. Over there. This is the 273rd show. It looks like. Hopefully, I got that number right. Don't forget to tell a friend we're live. Today is we specialize in just the sisters. Today we're gonna hear the sisters' view. I've given out the link for many sisters who you're always welcome to jump and give your opinion. We're asking the question. Do the sisters feel the brothers on the same page in the community? We also want to hear some stories from the sisters. I did a show not too long ago. I spoke to some sisters and I said, we're going to try to hook a show up where some of the sisters can give their testimony just so we can have a listen. Sometimes the sisters might feel that their voice ain't being heard. So we're going to give them a space and obviously, how they interact with the brothers and, where improvement and understanding can happen. So we're going to spend a week or so, depending how it goes, maybe more. There's some sisters said they would like to come this week and some said next week, short notice. And there was actually last week's show was very short, but uh, there was a sister who jumped in the panel as soon as we ended the live. And that was a shame because she had a lot of good things to say, and we spoke for a bit. I told her, well, if next week we can jump on. You might be joined by others, or you might be alone, but hopefully that sister's up. She was from the States. But what we'll do is while we wait for people to make a choice if we want to jump in, we'll watch. I've got a long video from Francis Kraswelski. So we can watch that while the sisters feel like jumping in. But what was it? I saw a message I was reading. Is that connected to this? Let me just check. What did he say? Help. Uh, what I'm just trying to see something. Sorry. What you don't get is you will never get black men to listen to black women properly if you only ever acknowledge what black men do wrong and glaze over what black women do. It will just have the opposite effect. Well, I think a brother gave a comment last week. Yeah, so one of the things we're trying to do, yeah, is we definitely don't want to cause no back and forth with it. We want to have a constructive, solution-driven narrative. So that's why the best thing to do is have sisters communicate first, if there's any, and then we can, maybe have a brothers, listening and responding amongst ourselves and all that good stuff. But don't forget to tell a friend we're live. We're doing the sister space at the moment. Hopefully the sisters. I mean, I've been working crazy last week and this week, but I managed to send that links and give the message in. But I understand some sisters might be busy or not. But while we wait to see if any sisters want to jump on, let me see if I just randomly downloaded that video of Francis Chris Wilson, and it was she's always the best person to get info from. It's 1973, so let me. It's still black and white with it. Oh, wow. There you go. So I've probably seen this in bits and bobs because it's probably, but I haven't. I don't think I've seen all of it straight. So what we'll do is we'll just play this. I just downloaded it literally a few seconds ago. While we wait to see if system will jump, and maybe the system might describe certain challenges or issues that was all apparent in the 70s and probably the 60s and 80s and 90s and stuff. But we'll have a listen while, and I might stop here and they give some perspectives. But this show is about the sisters, so feel free to jump in. Maybe yeah, I'll write it in the group as well. So let me play this while I write some stuff.
यह ब्लैक मैन व्हाइट वुमन नामक दो भागों
Oh,
वाली सीरीज का पहला
hold on. Was that? Hold on. Has someone taken this video on YouTube and overdubbed it? Is that? The worst is, let me just hold on. Is someone done that? If they've done that, yeah, I don't want to laugh. I really don't want to laugh. I really don't. Hold on.
पहला भाग है।
समझ सकते हैं कि श्वेत
I think I could be wrong, and I don't want to be cynical. I think someone has uploaded this video, but they've either translated it in another language or they're trying to be funny. I hope they're not trying to be funny, because if I am, I'm actually very bad. Let me hear
महिला और अश्वेत पुरुष के बीच संबंध में क्या हो रहा है क्षेत्र में बल्कि पूरी
this is you know what, this is absolutely amazing. Family, I've just gone on some page and I've downloaded Francis Chris Wilson, but I think they've overdubbed it in. I don't want to guess the language because I might cause offense, but it sounds like a language that could be in Asia. Which, I mean, this is Black Man. Well, I don't know if it's a joke, or maybe it's maybe because I am aware in certain parts of Asia there is a dynamics between skin color and this kind of stuff, right? So let me see if I can find some stuff. But how crazy is that? Wow. Yeah, so but like I said, we don't. I was only going to play this while the sisters decide if they want to jump in and talk about. So basically, it's about you know, do the sisters feel they connect to the brothers? Do they feel that the brothers are in general sense, you know, on the same page in the community, and do they have the same kind of like community values? Has there been a misunderstanding any time? There was a sister I reached out to because she spoke quite a bit in the last show I was at. I did message her on Instagram, but I don't really know, so she might not get it. She might not get it. So I'll try to reach out to her again. But and obviously, I don't think the brothers actually edit the shows. It takes a few weeks to edit shows because he's got like a back catalog. So, but she was just talking about her experience of she said she came from some event, and there was like a black bouncers at the event, and she was like on the, you know, I think when she went home, she was on the train, and I think someone came and was racially abusive to her. I think she was on the same train as the black bouncers or the black security guards, and she said something like, "Oh, you know, rather than like protect me from the abuse, they were like agreeing or co-signing or something like this." You know, so I thought, yeah, that was. I'm just typing this thing. So yeah, so she did, and she was giving some examples. Very cool. But I tend to do that when I go on these panels. I try to have the sisters give the testimony about certain things. I'm just gonna click on this, make sure that someone hasn't trolled. Hold on. This is crazy. Like, I swear that this is the one I doubt. You know what? So this is the one, right? Hold on. So what is this then? Hold on, I'm just gonna check something. That's a bit mad. Hold on. Because I'm thinking, where did that come from? Because I'm on the internet now. You know the ones I'm thinking, is it like a troll app where you download things and it dubs it in Hindi? I mean, unless you know what? Unless this thing actually has, do they have audio translations on YouTube now? You pick your audio. I do wonder. But you know, let me just check because I downloaded 2 of them, so maybe I can use the compressed one. But I'm merely just playing this video because we're waiting to see if system will join in. But let's see. Hold on. Oh yeah, you know, let me play that one. I've actually downloaded the oh, what's that? Hold on. So if I remove that and I add that one there, I just want to check that.
इस घटना को देख
No. All right, let me remove that, and I've actually got another one that I downloaded at a smaller compression, and that one seems to be in English. It's the irony of the topic we were talking about with the Asian community and a sister who was trying to boycott for certain reasons, and now, you know, there's an Asian overdubbing on I assume Asian on this very important sister's work. Anyway, let me find this. So don't forget, sis, it's your time. We're giving you 2 weeks, maybe more, maybe less, to just, you know, come and give a testimony about, you know, how you feel about brothers. You know, do you feel connected, and what could be done? It's more so a place for sisters to come and air themselves, and as brothers, we have to reflect on it and try to find solutions. But let's play a video while you ponder. And if you don't know who Francis Crest was, but hopefully this will now be in understand either English or Swahili. Let's see.
This is the
Yay!
part one
Hooray! Hurrah!
of a two-part series entitled Black Man, White Woman.
Oh, there. Very strong title. Controversy, I suspect. In the 70s, at least, yes.
Significantly, it was not entitled Black Woman, White Man because in the last 10 years, the statistics indicate that there is a significant increase in relationships between black men and white women and a significant decrease in relationships between black women and white men.
Maybe it started in the 70s. If it's still going today, we have to see the data. But this isn't necessarily about black men and white women, but it is about sisters, and maybe they might want to bring up connection. There was a sister, it's not for me to say her story, but she did speak to me, and she did say that, you know, there was, what did she say? She said, you know, she's really, you know, she really has love and respect for black men, but she feels that, you know, she's not really getting the attention from many, or if any, and you know, she's pondering trying other communities and stuff like that. I thought it was an interesting thing she said. So yeah, so we kind of talk about unpack to see, you know. So the sisters always welcome to jump in to give testimony if you like.
With me to discuss this very volatile issue are two leading psychiatrists, Dr. Frances Welsing, a member of the psychiatric department of the Medical College at Howard University, and Dr. Alvin Poussant, a psychiatrist, a member of the Medical College at Harvard University, and author of the well-known book, Why Blacks Kill Blacks. To begin with you, Sister Welsing, why do you believe, basically, black men are becoming so significantly attracted to white women, or is it vice versa?
I'd like to turn it around. I think, first of all, that white women are seeking black men first. Black men some are attracted to white women, and I don't think that we can understand this phenomena unless we understand really what is the larger dynamic that is occurring not only in this society but in the world at large. And the way that I look at that phenomena is that number one, we are living within the context of a system of white supremacy, which is my definition of racism. Racism is a worldwide system of white supremacy, domination, and control. And all of the behavior that we see all over the world, whether it's the behavior of the black woman, the white woman, the black man, or the white man, is occurring within the dynamics of this system. And we can understand what is happening as far as the white woman, black man relationship and why that is on the increase, I think, if we understand the need for the system to remain intact.
But Francis,
Okay.
you don't think that the black man has a special attraction toward the white?
We're just watching Frances Cress Welsing give her synopsis in 1973. Today's show is this week and next week, and the week last week is a sister show, sister special. As it's a continuation of me talking to sisters at some event and some other places where I say we like to give constructive space for sisters to communicate about their interactions and being part of the community, and also how they interact with black men, and if they feel there's any shortcomings or learnings that needs to happen, and their experiences and stuff like that, just so we can actually try to build as you should do. But this is your time, so we're gonna listen to Frances Cress Welsing, and if the sisters want to jump in, they can. If they don't want to, that's fine. Like I said, the sisters can jump in and talk about anything. It's really your space, but right now we're just going to listen to one of the greatest ancestors there, who when it came to like putting in the work, and that's Frances Cress Welsing.
Women?
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Why is that?
Well, he has been programmed historically to feel that, first of all, this is the woman who is the woman in the world, and this is a thing that has been denied him, in terms of, let's say, male-female relations or sexual partners. The black man, at least in this area of the world, has been told historically, you cannot touch this woman. And so at that level of social dynamic programming, yes, the black man has always felt, well, this is the one thing that I have been denied in this society. And so many black men, I think, at one level, they are moving towards white women as white women move. White women are the aggressors in this situation. But the black man is playing his role because he says, well, this is the thing that I've been denied. This is the thing that is going to be the great equalizer.
I think, though, that the need has sort of been exaggerated, because if we look at those statistics you just mentioned, actually in the past decade, even with the increase, there's only about 43,000 black man, white woman marriages. That's a very, very tiny percentage. That means about 2% of black men are married to white women. Now, if we had accepted the propaganda, that is,
It's funny. I saw a thing today where it says only 8% of black men are married to white women. That's what it said, and I think it's like 80 something percent is to black people, something like this. But it was 2% there. It's 8% now. So I guess what you also have to measure from, if you care about this topic at all, it's in comparison to other men. So you tend to find that people marry within their own people group. But it's well, the other data is like, how do you compare it to other men in other people groups? And you see it tremendously high in the black community.
white propaganda
Black men.
that all black men desire a white woman and they want to marry your daughter, you would expect the incidence of the marriages to really be increasing at a much greater rate.
I was going to ask, does it mean that that the fact that if we accept the fact that black men do feel that white women are preferable to black women, are we saying that their behavior in the context of standard behavior is normal or abnormal?
Well, I don't like to use those terms. I would prefer to understand the phenomena. For example, if we start labeling behavior, like, for example, homosexuals don't like to be called pathological, for one thing. And I think that it is more useful if we say, well, let us try to understand the phenomena of homosexuality, as opposed to saying, well, now that's sick, and then people get turned off and they don't spend time trying to understand the dynamic. In the same way, I don't want to look at the phenomena of, cross-color sexual mating or marriage or whatever. And in terms of pathology, I would rather say, well, let's try to understand what actually is going on.
But you call the white woman the aggressor.
I say that she is aggressive because we live in the context of a white supremacy society in which white people are the dominant group. They are the people who control the power. We are the oppressed people. We are the people who are victims of that system. Just like, I mean, in terms of history, it was just a short 2 months ago in terms of the whole historical span that black men were being lynched for looking at a picture of a white woman. Do you see? And now we are told, well, now everything is opened up. Well, I want to understand, well, why is it that everything is opened up? I think everything is opened up since black men started talking about black power. You see, when black men start talking about black power, then that says, well, all right, maybe there will be a challenge to the system of white supremacy domination, not only in this area of the world, but all over the world. So the white supremacy system says, all right, well, now what do we do to get these people back in control? And what do we do to get them back in check? That is the black man. Well, we'll lay our ace trump card on them, which is a white woman.
In other words,
you see, which brings the black man then back within the context that the white supremacy system is going to work for you. See, we've denied you this, now you have it. But on close examination, in spite of all of the black-white marriages, the black-white sex that has occurred throughout history in the last 5...
Today's Sister Special Day, so we've sent a link out to the sisters who should talk about their experiences, and how they feel, if they feel black men on the same page and some of their ups and downs. And what it goes is try to create a bridge or a bond or a communication, understanding, or a space for sisters to speak. And we're just looking at Frances Cresswell and talking about one issue that happened in the past, might happen today, and that is that kind of like black men seeking other women group and stuff, and how that might affect and impact the community. But here we go. But we've actually been joined by special guests. So let us say hey. So is that Princess? Is that correct? Is that Princess?
Hey, yes, it is Princess. Greetings.
Greetings. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. So this is for context. We were actually at Power's show last week. I think it was. Or was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was last week. Was it last week or was it the week before? It was the week before.
It might be the week before, and I think the sister came on and spoke really well. And the topic there on the panel was connected to black sisters and being connected, and I can't remember the actual title, but I know I was there kind of semi-cheering it, and it was good to hear the sisters' opinions and voices and stuff. And we did say that we would like to invite all the sisters back, as well as some others who are alive, to come in and expand or go through about how they feel about brothers in general, collectively in the community, and some of the challenges or some of the issues that might be there, in order for us to create a space where the brothers can listen and try to, I guess, seek progressive solutions. I guess, yeah. If there is challenge.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I like how you said if there are challenges. Yeah, there most definitely are. Um, I feel that in general, women are progressively feeling detached from our men. Me personally, the way I grew up is the polar opposite to the way things are now. Um, even to the way mothers, you know, who are no longer in the nuclear family unit, so to speak, you know, so they're single mothers raising their children, are regarded is not how they used to be regarded. You know, women used to be congratulated, and men in the community would come around and you know, take the children, whether it's in martial arts or just be that influence in their world. That's what I grew up seeing, and mothers and children were kind of looked after and protected, if they didn't, particularly if they didn't have a father in the home. Whereas now, the narrative is that particularly single mothers do not have value, or their value is significantly lower than a woman who hasn't had any children. And that, where does that leave the children as well? Because if the mothers are not valuable, you know, nobody wants to deal with the mums because of the children. Well, this is a narrative that's pushed out there anyway. And then where does that leave the children? How does that make the children feel? You know, are they worthless also? You know, and also we talk about how children are kind of unruly these days, which I don't really agree with, to be quite honest with you. But that's another narrative. But there are a lot of children without father figures, and when we talk about protection of women and children or communities, you know, that's lacking. It's really lacking, and I think that's a big area that I don't think is considered enough when we're talking about society and the state of society at the moment and where we're at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear that.
What
Well,
are your thoughts on it?
well, I think we were at the. I remember we were at the show. I think the question was asked about. I think it was who. I think I think the question might have been who should be protecting black women and children. I think that was black women and children, and there was a brother on the panel, and he answered first, and he said everyone. Right, and I don't know what angle he was. Oh, I think the system might have been cut. Obviously, she'll come back. But yeah, the brother said everyone, and that's when I kind of remember jumping in saying I wasn't bro with that, and no, I took it somewhere else. Maybe he was going to go somewhere with it, but I remember he said like everyone, and it's like I don't. Yeah, it did seem like it. There was this kind of like universalism that I get when around many brothers, where the concept of his sister's back. I mean, Aaron. Welcome back, sister. Welcome back. I think you jumped. Yeah. Where I was saying there was a brother on the panel, and he when the question was asked, you know, who should be protecting black women, he said every community should be doing. And I guess there was a kind of logic to what he was saying, that everyone should look after black women. But I guess the direction that I wanted to take it was, is it black man's responsibility to be the provider and protector of the women in the group? To which, newsflash, I would suggest yes. But you said some interesting things. You said that that value, that you feel that the single mother nowadays is less valued,
That's a narrative that's being pushed. Yeah.
Do you know when you first started hearing this? Do you know if it came from any kind of like movements, or just ideas, or just timelines, or is it just came from?
I would say probably, hmm, probably about six, 5 to 5, between 5 and 6 years. Yeah, no, I'd say 5 years. About 5 years where this narrative has been aggressively pushed, and I can't. I would be lying if I said I could understand why. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the objective is, or who has planted the seed, and now it's spilled over in a way that people probably didn't imagine, because I think that it probably was to keep women in order somewhat, in regards to not feeling as though, because things have changed. The the way women are now viewing relationships in the world is completely different. A lot of women are abstaining by choice. A lot of women are not aspiring to be married by choice, and I think maybe it was to regain some type of um, order back on the traditional values. Maybe, I'm not sure, or it could just be really a divisive method to just keep us divided and maybe lower population control. I don't know. I really don't know, but it's harmful.
We've done some case studies, and there's also going to be multivariables of why ideas come in, and I'm sure just like there's ideas today, there would have been here yesterday and the day before. But what one thing
Mhm.
exciting was there was a swift kind of movement not too long ago of well they call it like the manosphere kind of movement,
Mhm.
and I think what originally came out to be was men trying to like level up and know men's worth and become
Mhm.
more masculine or more more something, right?
Yeah,
More for
men's empowerment.
yeah, I guess. But what's
Mhm.
happened is there's multiple strains of that movement, but I think that's where I've seen some of that kind of narrative where there is this concept like do not be around single mothers, and just for the context of picking them to be a wife or a partner, whatever. And then what happened is because we always look at things from a like a racial standpoint. So
Mhm.
these movements that were started there, they were predominantly white men, European men, but then they
Mhm.
had elements of black men joining. And what the black men found is what they find in most other scenarios, where whenever you mix black or all the colors together, as time goes by, you find the black people more so at the bottom of that chamber, while everyone else is at the top. So then they started forming their own kind of like movements, like the black manosphere movement. And this is where I forgot the gentleman's name, he passed away, but Kevin Samuels and these kind of
Mhm.
people came out and this kind of stuff. And so that's where I've seen that narrative you're saying about valuing single mothers less, when at least when it comes to picking for a partner. And I don't know what. And from a community standpoint, I'm hoping that doesn't bleed into whether they're worthy of protection and this kind of stuff. And that's why we want to have this conversation. There's some comments that
Mhm.
I'm sure that is correlated. Genders talk to each other with total disrespect and then act shocked when people don't want to show up when they're needed. Single mothers thing definitely started with the red pill manosphere stuff. There you go. So yeah, so we did some case study on it, and the area of interest I was at when studying the movements, more so in the UK, was how first black men joined something, became the least in it, and then formed their own. And
Mhm.
then in the UK, at least, there was a point where the movement of what they call Black Manosphere was then dominated by a white woman. So a white woman became the number one speaking voice in the UK about black men issues or black men stuff. We watched it as a case study because it was interesting because you found that some of the black men there were very happy to undermine black women publicly, and this European lady was helping them do it. But what she was also allowing white supremacists, one of the most popular white supremacists at the moment, would come on her show and continue to degrade black people and stuff, but she would never call them out and always defend them. So it showed that she had a loyalty to racist men in her community. And when you juxtapose that to the black men not showing any loyalty to defend the black women from this kind of stuff, it was another like aha moment for certain black men who make the wrong choices when it comes to community building. And because I'm talking about Pearly Things Pearly Things. This was her name back then. So this was we would study some of the stuff they're doing, and some of the black men. There was a gentleman there who he used to make videos about why black women couldn't be attractive and why white women were. I remember there was a scenario where he was very infatuated for a European girl he was dating, and the white woman we're talking about invited a white supremacist on her show, and the white supremacist was just tearing him down and stuff like that. And it was just interesting, because here he is tearing down black women to white women, but now the white men are tearing him down, tearing her down for being with him. And then obviously the woman who's the host of the show, who they said was like the queen of the UK Black Manosphere scene, wasn't defending black men at all, but defending the white men. Yeah, his name was King Richards. Yeah, I mean, I don't like saying his name, but it's the case study. It's out there. People have seen it. Some here in the US with other races put in their 2 cents in what happens in our community. Same here, yeah. So this is the thing. When it comes to black men, we try to refresh leadership and also having a black first narrative and obviously providing protecting for the woman and the child. But it seems black men in certain capacities are very easily swayed in certain things. So that's and one of the issues I've seen when I've gone out. I've always asked this question in the shows I get invited to do, and I always ask black women: do you feel provided and protected are important and most valued by black men in a general sense in the community? And generally, all the time, I get the same answer, which is no. I do get like the brothers who are defensive, and I don't think that's the right way to approach it. And one of the shows I was at, I remember one of the host of the show was kind of like arguing a bit with a woman who tried to bring up. And I think this was about issue with there was an Asian man who attacked a sister who tried to get a refund in one of the Asian stores.
Yeah.
And I think the guy who was hosting was angry at the women, saying, "We tell you not to go there. Why'd you go there?" Once again, I was saying this is not how we should approach it. Don't turn the victim into the victimizer or whatever it is. And what I was noticing as well was how some of at least one or two of the guys, they would create a narrative, and we call this failure fabrication here, where they'll say, "Oh, you girls, you might go to these places and you want us to come fight for you, but we might get killed and stuff like that." And but then when it comes to other stuff that might be risky or whatever, they don't seem to have that same kind of
concern.
Concern. So I noticed that pattern, and I think that pattern works really well on black women. That's why I say, that's why at the event I was at, I was saying allow black men to speak to black men, because some black men, when they feel somewhat not intimidated but maybe demeaned in some way, they look for what they define as an easy target, and they might see, they might think it's very easy to trigger a black woman when they bring up certain tropes repeatedly, and because they get the same reaction. So I think the irony is at that show event, wonderful guys, great few things going on. There was a lot of things that went on there that I noticed, but one of them was when the brother, it was this concept of the brother saying everyone should. I noticed when the sisters were talking, they're very specific about black community, black love, and this kind of stuff. But sometimes, or if not all the times, black men struggle to use those terms. And this is something I'm very interested in. Even now, like if you check my feed and stuff, there's a lot of men who tell me they're not pro-black, they're pro-life or pro-truth. This is the words that they're using now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and so, but I noticed that when it comes to like black community stuff and the importance of it, I sense that black women, in just in numbers, not in complete, but in numbers, seem to have more synchronized with that idea. While black men seem in numbers, because obviously smaller margins do different things. In numbers, seem to be more connected to this. We're all in together. Let's all hold hands, kind of stuff. And
Why do you think that is?
well, I'm a very shocking speaker, and I always have to declare that when I speak. But the reason is because black men haven't recovered from being conquered by white men. That's the big kind of thing. Like from a collective standpoint, and the ease. There's a seeking like an ease, like trying to like get things easy. There was a guy who was talking about. I think I can't remember. He was trying to give his notion about why certain black men might want to be with white women, and there's a multitude of reasons why that might be. But one of the reasons what he was saying was a free house, and that's an interesting, at least within the UK standpoint, where you know, by the, they might more likely be able to get a place to stay with a European woman who has more wealth at her own kind of like disposal. So yeah, there's obviously there's different variants of why people do things, but that area is interesting because that shows a lackingness to go and try to provide and these kind of stuff. So yeah,
that's ultimately a lack of confidence, though, isn't it?
It is, yes, yeah. Well, the low self-esteem is something that is riddled in the black community in general. And also what like Frances Wilson, this woman who's the sister here, she passed away not too long ago, unfortunately. But her books are important. But she does talk about when you want to destroy people, you destroy the men.
Yeah.
See, so it is all the behavioral patterns you see the brothers do, regardless of what country they're in, once they've faced global anti-black racism and white supremacy, or whatever, they have the same kind of patterns. And what I was trying to draw people's attention to, people think I'm a broke record, but it's like if you went to, say, Nazi Germany, or you went to Palestine, or you went to any other kind of nation that was at conflict with another nation, you wouldn't see disproportionately the men in that nation trying to marry the women in the other nation. It's something that isn't normal in the context of two people were to a better word enemies, and one heavily damaged the other one, right? So you won't see that, but then it's something you see in a great number in the black community, And I think the things you have to understand is for years and years and years, propaganda has been fed to the black community. And internalizing racism is something that I suspect every black person has in a percentage. So if you demonize the black phenotype and blackness, and you make it you make it harder to progress being a black person historically, then when it comes to actually something that you want to be and status and stuff, you can see there's going to be an angle where someone not being with a black person is valued. This is a psychological thing. And go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it's just your time. What did you say? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, do you think, because this is the reason why when we were on the panel, I said it feels like we've regressed since, slavery times and things like that, because at least then we had a understanding of unity, and we understood the importance of sticking beside each other and that we needed each other. Whereas now it's almost the complete opposite, where we are not feeling like we are valuable to each other at all, and we're just so easily swayed. It's just anything against one another. It's easy for us to sit with, but when it comes to being patient with each other and healing with each other, we're not so good at that. And it's like we need to make that our business. But I'm just thinking, what are we waiting for? Is it whose responsibility is it? Because I was just thinking we need like mass counseling, like we need counseling, we need informed therapy and like trauma informed therapy, because we've been traumatized on so many different levels, even to a cellular level, epigenetics. Like we really need healing on every type of level, and it's like unless we prioritize this, we're going to be in serious problems, because we're already divided as it is, and if we continue this way, I don't know what 10 years down the line is going to look like.
Yeah, well, yeah, what you're saying, this is a high level of truth. I think what we try to do here is we're very particular. We promote a lifestyle of black people helping black people. So it's an automatic lifestyle that we and we refine here. And one thing as well is there is a small percentage of people who know how to achieve the solutions and are quite well to do. And it's about trying to get connections where those people are together. Also, it's trying to have influence to people who might not necessarily be that kind of committed to certain causes, but have like a platform. So recently there was a sister who wanted to promote black economics, and she had a bit of controversy because she was saying she wanted to boycott the Asian community. And what I noticed is for the most part, the sisters were very supportive of this, while for the most part the men they were concerned, and I'm not saying there wasn't a concern to have, but they were more concerned about the words used towards the Asian community. So you know, and when you juxtapose that with there was a brother who went on some show where he says he hates women, hates black women, and loves Asian women, and that's he'll never date. Yeah, when the same guys I see come to defend the Asian community, even though they would have defended here and there the black sister, whatever. I never saw that kind of urgency defending the black woman, that kind of hate. So this is what I'm saying, where there needs to be a process of valuing, like as a community, there's a way we can put steps in to make certain things valuable. So historically, steps were put in to make things less valuable, right? And many things, so as a community, we can reverse engineer that. So that's why we have certain statuses here where we say that we promote a lifestyle called BlackBetterment, and the lifestyle comes in two variants: the complete version and the casual version, right? So the complete version is where every activity you do, you're trying to improve black people, while the casual version is you pick one activity to do that helps black people, and you keep doing that. So you don't have to be completely committed, but you're doing something, because every little helps. However, if you're, just say for example, you're a black man and you do 100 million things for black people, you could be considered a complete version. However, if you choose to not be with a black woman, as if you make a choice to pick someone and you pick a non-black woman, you will not be viewed as a complete. You'll then be viewed as casual, even though you do a whole lot of stuff. Now, this is a process of how to place value on black women, knowing that to achieve the high status in the black community, a black woman is a part of it. So just by finding a constructive black woman, you already can be elevated to the highest ideals, because it's a part of the process of practicing BlackBetterment, at least at the complete level, right? And the reason why you like that, I'll ask you. And the reason why you have to do that is because there's a word called pro-black, which is the word that people now try to counter with pro-truth and pro-love, pro-life. And what it is if you go on Google and you type in "can pro-black," the next thing that'll come is marry a white person. So that Google thing from a concept that's meant to empower black people is, can a pro-black person marry a white person, right? So when I'm in many circles, this is like the biggest argument is like, why can't we marry Europeans or whoever it might be, right? And already that shows you that even in that kind of the mode of trying to heal and recover from an atrocity, there is still a longing to go out the community, and more so towards the people group who most benefited from your domination. what I try to do, and I'm very, very specific with to say the black men picking non-black women, whatever, is most black men that I've interacted with, they're very, they might be very plain, quite simple in their words, but when it comes to justifying why they shouldn't marry a black woman, they become very, very poetic. Like so what I tend to do is I try to like not go there and go, look, does the European woman you want to be with, does she support reparations? And
Mm.
then what I try to do with that is demonstrate that other groups, and also Europeans as well, they have the ability to think as a collective. So they've been trained to make sure that the collective benefits of their people is never hindered. So that's why when you ask so many Europeans, do you support? They go, "What? How can I support that? We'll be bankrupt." That was in the past.
Mm. Mhm.
But then when you look at brothers, they're very individualist. Like, love has no color. I'm a spiritual being and I found I'm spiritual. All this kind of stuff like that, right? But other groups, they understand how to work as a collective. It's about trying to put exercises in place to demonstrate that, and that's why I ask those questions. And usually when I'm at events, there's a big silence and stuff, right? So but one thing is, it's important to hear the sister's perspective and let you know that there is a ongoing effort to try to correct some of the shortcomings that a lot of the brothers are going. But we can't do it without the sister's feedback. You see, so that's why we really
Yeah. I mean, I think sisters are happy to feedback, but we are very aware that we most of the time what we say is going to be contested,
Yeah.
and rather than received.
Yes.
It's just putting it really politely, and it's the same with the situation that you were just speaking on. Many chose to miss the lady's message, that she was basically encouraging power to the black pound and to pour into and build our own communities. The sentiment behind it was constructive. She maybe could have worded what she said better. I personally, I can't even remember what she said, to be perfectly honest. But I was a bit taken aback by the unwillingness to actually comprehend the sentiments behind what she was saying, and then the almost kind of wanting to burn her at the stake because she had dared to venture into that arena of things in regards to empowering the black communities. And it's like, were the men, was there more to that? Was it because the men were feeling as though she is shining light on their inadequacies? I don't know.
There could be a multitude of reasons why. I think one of the things that I always try to describe when I go and I talk is, in the black community in general, but more so amongst the men, there is a longingness to be subservient. Now, when you say it that way, people deny it, right? But when you look at the data and the reaction time, it, it I say, I mean, the thing is, some people they don't view the world in the lens of like race or community stuff like that. So for example, I will go to Speaker's Corner, I'll ask a lot of the brothers, like, if you saw a sister being like, shouted at, abused by a man, would you jump in and try to stop it? And there was some responses where they said, well, I couldn't, because if I try to jump in, I might get killed, and the next day she takes him back. And this was the narrative, right? Then I asked, if you saw a sister, Asian lady in a hijab being abused by someone, would you jump in? And said, yes, of course.
Wow.
And it was very night and day. I said, okay. And they're like, well, she clearly she wouldn't have done anything wrong. Why he shot, that kind of stuff, right? So so when you start asking certain questions and you word it in certain ways, you get certain responses. And black people have to be trained to value blackness. So, and that's the thing. Anything that you can define as black, or from a black standpoint, or connected to what has been defined as blackness, will be degraded or not as valued as things that came from somewhere else. And we can do a case study on every. We've got data there. So also, a lot of the men who speak, they might come from the ones who will allow us that, it's not all, but the ones who might seek make comments might come from like the underbelly kind of lifestyles historically, where they've made choices that might have got them in trouble or limited where they can go. So those brothers there, they might not be the best person when it comes to a history of knowledge about pro-blackness, because they've done things the opposite of pro-blackness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like poisoning your community or harming your community is the opposite of pro-blackness, right? So they've lived a life of activities that have nothing to do with Black people healing. So when they hear these things now, they might from a coolness standpoint might want to believe they're part of it, but they have no history in it, and that's why that question could be from a lot of those brothers might be like, why can't I marry someone who's the daughter of a white man? And so it's not that you can't. It's just about, if you're trying to be pro-Black, there's something in you that longs and loves your community, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that might be an alien thing to so many brothers. Obviously, of course, not all, but we're talking about
Yeah, in the majority. Yeah, and I think until we really address the psyche of the Black man at the moment, in this time, I don't think that because it's deep. We can't just throw a few new narratives out there and then not accompany it with serious focus to the underlying issues, because that's self-hate, that's a lack of confidence, and the women nowadays, they seem to be realizing that and not wanting. It's almost as though they've lost faith, because before you could guarantee that whether a man was down on his luck financially, was incarcerated, or whatever his predicament, maybe it wasn't so favorable to being the typical provider, etc. But a Black woman, and I say this from experience, from what I've grown up around and seen, a Black woman is usually, or was usually, very loyal. And now I think that I don't think he's spoken enough really in a constructive way about how the shift, what caused the shift first and foremost, because people are saying that it's sinister agendas and things like that. I don't necessarily think it's just that. I think women got tired of really being there for men and really being ridiculed and unappreciated, because if a woman, we turned into a time where women were being kind of chastised for sticking beside their men if they were not financially stable, or they were, they got caught up in a situation which caused them to be incarcerated, or whatever the situation may be. They started being looked down upon for being loyal and seeing potential and wanting to build with somebody. They would say, oh, it's the choices that she's made poor choices, or if she ended up in an abusive relationship, it was kind of blaming. And then the narratives changed, the way women started to behave changed. And I don't think that because a lot of men will say, oh, now it's the bad beat era, it's the feminism, it's the this, it's the that. I'm just thinking, not for everyone. And I don't know if that's the majority. I think women started understanding that if we don't protect ourselves, nobody's coming to the rescue. And being loyal isn't necessarily being rewarded with anything. And that I think should be acknowledged. It kind of gets overshadowed by, oh, it's the bad B movement, it's Cardi B, it's this, it's that. I think that's a small part of what's going on.
That's very well put, and I wrote that down. No rewards for being loyal, and yeah. So just like what I was saying with like community understanding and stuff, it does seem that Black women have more value for Blackness and the Black community and black families and these concepts. And I kind of get that everywhere I go, and that's why what I was going to say before was to help the sisters. You kind of want to have the men talk to men.
Yeah.
So the discipline we will try to put in the community is more so talk to find the other man who can talk to the man to reform the man, right? And that's why when I go to these places, I all these talk stuff, I take that role, and the goal is to get as many more brothers to do that. You know, it's educating brothers seeing that you know even if the sisters were wrong or the men were wrong, when it comes to community, who has to take the first step when it comes to leadership? It has to be the man, right? And that's key. Like you have to step up and you have to start the change. And there's no doubt in my mind that black sisters, at least from the research I've done, have been extremely low, right? Extremely low historically and today. And I think yeah, going back to what the sister, the Elaine sister who did the economic stuff, and once again, what I'm saying is every podcaster, shock jock, has the right and freedoms to present their channel in the way that they're comfortable and makes because that's that the whole artistic tree and shock value stuff, that's them. But what I would say from this narrative, when we start this show, I didn't start this week, but when we started, I usually read saying like when you come to this show, we try not to use derogatory terms, we try to use constructive terms. And there's many reasons why I say that, and that is for two reasons. One, people might say it's not nice, and two, it can be used to undermine black progress. And why I say that is with the sister Elaine, because of the way she delivers stuff and the strong vulgarity and the delivery and stuff, the brothers will use that as a reason and not focus on what she's saying and go, well, she made fun of me, she's made fun of this, right? And then that will now be the campaign. It won't be that she's trying to do something nice. It's that she says things that they see as vulgar or hurtful. Now, don't get me wrong. When someone doesn't want to do something, they'll always find an excuse. But I'm saying that in the work I do, we try to minimize excuses. But that's just in the process of doing black betterment or constructive work. When you do your own kind of creativity and stuff, but when it comes to like very important community stuff, that's where I would strongly recommend we handle it from the most like clean, constructive way as possible. Home friendly, grandmas and kids can listen to the content. And also, like the sister was talking about boycotting the Asian community, and what I was going to tell her is there's a list of reasons why you should boycott every. There's always a reason why you can boycott any community, and that can be that can be unpacked and how that can be delivered in a way that makes sense. Like, unfortunately, when it comes to community, so for example, even this week, certain individuals from the Asian community will jump on the live, they'll jump on a conversation and they'll say something like, I expect better from you, Raven. You're supporting this racist woman, all this kind of stuff. And I say, well, hold on, I'm supporting the economics that she promotes. It's very important. But I ask question this all. I say, as an Asian community collectively, would you say you respect the black community or the white community more from a collective standpoint? And they go, well, unfortunately, we respect maybe the white community more. And I say, okay, when it comes to supporting businesses, would you say the black community or the white community supports your business more? And they go, well, black community, we're there and they do support us quite a lot, right? And I go, okay, historically, from the black people and white people, which one of those two groups more devastated your community? And they go, well, it's the white community. And so you go, so let's break that down. The people who most destroyed you, who most don't support you, you have more respect for than the people who patronize your entire industries. See? So just by putting things in that way, we can now say, okay, well, something needs to be done about that, doesn't it? So we're gonna go and do what we're doing until you can address that truth there, right? And then there's the whole, like, black women are the perfect women to listen to when it comes to interacting with some of the Asian businesses because of the history of some of the neglect that the sister was attacked, and there's numerous other things. Obviously, there's plenty of nice, amazing Asian communities, but we're talking about collective concepts and how people are generally treated. So that can be addressed, and that can be put in a form of a boycott, whether it's boycotting particular places. When we see a kind of improvement, then we can go to the next conversation, whatever. But but the moral of the story is how you word things. It can help campaigns. But,
Agreed. But I don't think that when it comes to Black women and them speaking up, it's very rare that they will be supported the way they should be by Black men. So I understand what you're saying, but I'm inclined to believe that it's more about the messenger than the message with this outrage, to be honest.
Oh, of course. Well, that goes, like I said, and that's why we always try to say it's about the idea, not the individual, right? The idea, and the truth of the matter is, we give thanks to any person with a platform who says a constructive community idea, and the next step is for us to jump on and try to help. You make like one person can't carry an idea; they're merely just using their platform. So, but yeah, that does bring us to obviously that disconnect is I guess what we're talking about now, and I guess one of the solutions we're presenting is you have to have men talk to men about reforming men. And I think one thing that, like I said before, I'm very clear that I'm here in this event because I'm promoting BlackBetterment. I'm trying to and I pull it into three major things. So that's I guess we've got slides so we can show. Let me just remove that for a piece. So, what's the three fundamentals? There we go. So, Black families, Black economics, and Black health. Yeah, that's like the three fundamentals. Let me move that the other way around. So, if when I'm speaking, there's no confusion. It's like the Black community work together on these elements, and obviously the sister is talking about Black economics. That's important, right? So now there's direction, there's templates, there's things you're trying to do, and I think if we could have clarity when we're trying to fix something. So, for example, if I say Black families, that's constructive Black man and constructive Black woman. So every member of the community can make a choice, and that's to be with another member of the community in a constructive way, right? So, regardless of what people might end up with, that is the template. The golden error, the golden rule, or whatever it is that it will be best achieved. Like making that clear. No excuses like, oh, but this is like, okay, regardless of what people end up doing, that is the best ideal. And getting a consensus. And that's where Black men have to talk to Black men, because I do feel that some sisters, and I guess it makes sense, feel slightly awkward to be in a public place telling Black men you should love Black women, right? Because I can see how that could be an awkward feeling thing. So I think the primary people who should be doing that is Black men, and to be honest with you, it isn't necessarily like telling people who they should and shouldn't like. It's more so observing how people are behaving and creating media narratives and education that changes people's perspective of values. Because you can't just say love this person. You more have to go, okay, if someone is displaying something, oh, the sister's gone. That's a shame. I think cut. It's for those listening, yeah, it isn't about just telling someone who they should and shouldn't love. It's more so explaining that, not explaining that we're aware something's going on. They're not aware of it. So how do we control media, control narratives, or control education where we place value in the thing that others are valuing less, right? And that's important, because obviously when you talk to a lot of brothers, they'll go, oh, people can't help how they feel. It's just, it just things happen that way. But things have happened beforehand to make people behave that way, right? So as a community, you can place values in certain ideas and executions that makes people want to gravitate more so towards a certain outcome. Now, family, this is actually the sisters, and we were joined by Princess, and she was cut. But if you're a sister and you would like to talk, this is your space. You can come in and you can speak. Your views matter. And traditionally, we would have liked to have had multiple women on the panels, communicating back and forth and supporting each other. And it was a bit. I had some crazy project that I've just finished, so I couldn't really go out and get people. But all the people I asked, a great number of them said they can do not this week but next week. So hopefully next week we'll get more sisters jumping in and giving their their testimony and what they've gone through and all that good stuff there. Let me just see if I've got missed anything. No, cool, that's cool. But we give thanks to Princess. She was speaking very well there and very well at the show, and she did stand out. I remember last with the stuff she was saying then, and there was a few other sisters, but I haven't got through to them because they're very busy schedules, I guess. But it would definitely good to hear their stuff. But what's your feelings out there now? Once again, we're not trying to the folk, the people make mistakes and people do things that might be error prone, men and women. But the area of interest I'm having is how black men can reform black men, and also the lack of direction when it comes to what are we trying to achieve. So for me, I'm very plain. The people know, oh, Ray, he's that guy by BlackBetterment. I think that's valuable to know that there is a shortcoming that someone is trying to fix. So you don't have to wish-washy around it, and you can have very particular ways of dealing with it. A very particular way of dealing with this issue of the sisters not feeling heard. I think I wrote down stuff she said was very important. She said, black women, were being loyal and getting no rewards. So there's no rewards for being loyal. That word's very important, rewards. And what I tried to explain to the sister that within the BlackBetterment concept and lifestyle, you are rewarded as a black man for finding a constructive black woman. As in, it is part of like what makes you important. That you're doing constructive work and you found a sister to aid you in that journey. And that's where you're putting value in the picking process of who you're with. You see, when you talk to brothers and stuff, they'll say things like, and then teach their own stuff. But once again, I'm always going to offer an alternative spin on it, and they'll say things like, oh well, love, you fall in love, and that could be true. I'll say, well, if love is the only thing you're trying to do here, could you have, when you marry a person outside the community, because we're trying to community works here, could you have them sign like a NDA or a prenup where all your wealth and assets goes to your sister or to your mother or someone? And usually they're not for that. They're not really for that. They want more than love, much more than love. So you realize that, oh, okay, I see that. There was an interesting video we played the other day where there's a European woman, she married a black man, and he was really like hammering her up and saying how great she is and this kind of stuff. And I think she came from another marriage and she was a European man and she had kids. And then she made it very clear, listen, the money I got from my husband in divorce is for my children. So even though I've married this man, he'll have no access to anything that is for my children and from whatever. So she was very clear, like, that even though she married this brother, she has a community and a family commitment that was before him, and he cannot really be a part of it, whatever it was. And I think this was interesting because it came after him he was talking from an individualistic standpoint, while she was talking from a collective standpoint. And that's very important, especially when we're trying to reform black men, to highlight that many brothers, and because they haven't been trained in certain areas, whatever, value individualism, and it's prioritized as like a great thing, while most other communities they value collectivism, of how to work as a collective to progress. And that's why we have to try to show the values in that concept, that team. There's a progressional betterment in teamwork, you see. So let me carry on playing Francisco Swells, and if we'll play for a bit more. If any sisters want to jump in to have their talk, please do. I think Princess Mike got cut, and it's a shame because she was really dropping some good stuff. But by all means, you can jump in next week where we have more guests. But this is Sisters Corner at the moment, so jump in whenever you want. Let's carry on with Francisco Swells.
There's been no serious tampering with the maintenance of white supremacy, certainly not through the bedroom activity. Do you see what I'm saying? But in other words, it throws people off balance.
So
the
white woman is still, I think, in a position of psychological dominance.
Right.
And insofar as she is, that's a form of white supremacy, and that the black men are frequently responding to her dominant position. the fact that she is considered a superior status object in a society. But getting back to this point,
well, let me ask a question before you move to that. Then, if we accept that, are we saying that the black men who marry white women are asking for dominance from a female?
No, the black men who are married by white women.
No,
the trend you continually.
No, I think that they are looking for status.
The black men are looking
The
for
black
status.
men are looking for status whether they are aware of it or not. In other words, as long as you have white supremacy domination.
Very important with their status. That's why in recovering from that, you place status and status in the sisters, or vice versa, the brothers. What you have the family unit or the picking as an important act within BlackBetterment, within the black community, and how that, and you also connect with economics, because if you're trying to build an economic group, you want to, if something was to happen, it is a black person inheriting it. So already there's importance. So you might have certain scenarios in business where it's like you cannot let someone have any kind of authority up to a certain point, because if they inherit a black organization's assets, that it could actually slip away into through the process of marriage. You see, so then now you're placing important emphasis on community members marrying community members. Big up, Brother Qatari. Big up, Young. Big up, Rastafarian. Big up, Leonardo. Brother Dominic. Big up, Jeff Short, and Sister She Reigns, and Bigger Princess, who was on here live just a few seconds ago. Carry on listening.
Any place in the world, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Hawaii, whether it's Japan, any place, you name it, that as long as the people of color are the people who are oppressed, then when a marriage occurs, in other words, the dominator says, I will pick you amongst the victims who I dominate to marry you, then the victim says, oh goody, this means I'm in.
Well, that's true, but if I can ask this question.
Okay.
It seems, the way you are framing your analysis, that the almost total blame, if we can use that word, for interracial marriages is because of, one, white society vis-a-vis white supremacy.
Seeking to maintain itself.
And two, white women being the aggressors. You seem to be saying, and I'm asking a question, that black men are just blameless, and they're sort of like the victims of something that they have no control over, or that they have no need to be married to a white woman for some perhaps pathological basis.
No, let's say, for example, if you set up the conditions for the development of a sadomasochistic relationship, then the masochist as well as the sadist is a part of that relationship, and they are playing roles that they have been conditioned to play. In other words, a person who is a masochist seeks out the sadist because then they could play their sort of dual game, their mutual reciprocity together. Now, within the dynamic of the system of white supremacy, you have, for example, many of the white women who are with black and other non-white men are actually, I believe, having a dialogue with white men.
How does that work?
See, the dialogue goes like this, according to my analysis. First of all, the white women, we have the women's liberation movement, which is a dynamic of white females. Okay, they are asking for liberation out from under the white male. All right, now within the dynamic of the white supremacy culture, you also have penis envy. In other words, the white men have been perceived as being dominant over the woman. And so the woman says, well, I wish I had a penis. Okay, so what does she do? She says, well, I'll go out and get one that's supposed to be more powerful than yours, but I'm going to control it because we are white and we control all of the non-whites. So she goes out and she selects, and all this is unconscious, you know, activity, if you will. She goes out and selects a non-white male, be he black or any other non-white. Then she is walking down the street, or they can go to the, you know, justice of the peace or the priest or be married. And anytime a white man sees that, she is communicating to him, see, I've got one because I am in control of this.
But I don't think we can, you know, generalize to that extent. I think that that's a theory. But it's getting back to the question when we present arguments that way is whether the relationship between black men and white women are pathological. Now, Frances said she doesn't like to think of it in that framework, but the fact is that a lot of psychiatrists have presented or said that interracial relationships in marriage stem from a type of negative psychological position or some type of pathology because of the racism in society. They'll say that the racism distorts people's...
Those join us, where this is a sister space at the moment where we're inviting some sisters to come in to speak. A sister jumped on, but I think she got cut. But this week and next week is sisters talking about, how their feelings and if they feel that the black men understand, are connected to the community, connected to the needs of the black family and stuff. And it's very, and it's done from the standpoint that if there is any misunderstandings or mismatches, that the black men can come and help reform that. And we recommend that black men speak to black men about these issues. As we're waiting, we're listening to Francis Cress Wilson, and this one's called, irony enough, I think, What Black Men and White Women. So an interesting breakdown, but it's good to see how the brothers and sisters communicate here, because we want to get more like this kind of communication, or from a psychoanalyst kind of standpoint of what's going on, and a respectful dialogue about challenges or phenomena. And we're just watching it while the sisters decide if they wish to jump on to give their kind of speeches. No rush, you don't have to. We could do it next week and stuff, but this time is set up for just the sisters to communicate. And then we make notes and try to find solutions and all that good stuff.
Minds, so that frequently you'll get, say, a white woman attracted to a black man for the wrong reasons or for racist reasons. She may see him as inferior, that might turn her on, or she might see him as a black stud, that may turn her on. All of these are racist perspectives. Or the black man can get attracted to the white woman because she's supposed to be superior, and he wants to be part of that whiteness. In other words, she's sort of anointing him or helping him to feel a sense of self-worth by his involvement
Well, I wouldn't
with
argue
her.
with any of that.
But
yeah.
At the same time, I think that
let's look
we
at it
can't
this way.
say that this happens with everyone, and even if it does happen, that this is pathological.
Well, let's look at it this way.
Let's
Let's say, for example, white men and white women have many difficulties in terms of marriage, all right? I mean, there's a lot of alienation that is going on just within the white group itself, within the whole total context of the white supremacy system. Black men and black women have serious problems in terms of the marital relationship. Now, either we say that all of these people are sick because of, various problems, or we can say, well, now let us look at the total behavioral phenomena that is occurring within a social system. Let's not bother to label it, but let's begin to understand what is happening. Do you see what I'm saying? Because there are many.
So it seems what sister's saying here is what she's saying, because pathological means involving or caused by physical or mental disease. And I think what the sister was saying here is, rather than label something pathological and get people's backs up, go for more study of why something is happening. And she said that already before.
Problems. I wouldn't want to say that I don't think it's useful. At one level, we can say, all right, these are pathological relationships, the problems that black men and black women have. Or we can say that the problems that white men and white women have are pathological. But I don't think that, see, because once you say pathological, then,
which means sick.
Which means sick, then people who can be helped by understanding the dynamic, they're turned off because they don't want to be labeled as sick, but they may want to understand the phenomenon.
Well, for purposes of analysis, let us assume.
Like, let's say everybody who comes to a psychiatrist doesn't want to be labeled as sick. They say, I have a problem. I don't understand how I am relating to this other individual and the product that we have that I don't want. Help me understand it so I can straighten it out. And this is where I'm coming from. I don't want to create a big thing about that.
At the same time, though, I think we can recognize certain things that, I don't know if we want to call them sick, but that are distorted. For instance, I've seen black men married to white women, and essentially they hate other black people, that they have sort of joined the oppressor and are actively anti-black. And
an expression of self-hatred.
That's right. It's an expression of self-hate for them to marry a white woman.
But now,
on the other hand, I see some black men who are married to white women who remain militantly black.
Well, couldn't that be a defense mechanism?
But there's a contradiction.
But being militant, let's deal with this. Some of our most revolutionary blacks have white women. Now, many blacks suspect, and it's
a very important thing that he says and that's the case study we've done. Many revolutionary brothers and sisters, black men also, have married, very particularly the European woman. And when you go to Africa, many of the Pan-Africanist leaders of the past, you find were marrying European women, more so from the colonizing nations. But you don't see this process happening in Europe, where Europe's particularly marrying African women or African men. There was one scenario recently, well, two. One was the UK brother who they ran out of the castle, and then the other was some kind of homosexual black man who married a Norwegian queen or something, something like this, and he also he has he has some kind of other things going on with him. But yeah, and obviously he was run out the castle as well. So it's an interesting dynamic that you see the oppressed group in mass marrying people from the colonizing class, but you don't see the colonized class marrying those in the colonized kind of class.
Open secret that militants is simply a defense mechanism so that they can deal with their need for a white woman.
Well,
but look at it this way.
might,
Many of those
go
so-called
ahead.
militants who are married to white women, I think it's because of the way that they have defined the problem for themselves. Many black people who a white person will say, well, that person is militant because the person happens to be saying black power. They are not really talking about the overthrow of white supremacy. They're talking about workers of the world unite, maybe. Do you see what I'm saying? But because they are black, they're saying, well, okay, from, I'm saying in terms of a
You're
whole
saying they're talking
humanistic
integration,
struggle.
in other words.
They are
wanna share in
talking,
the
right.
power.
Do you see what I'm
They
saying?
wanna
So
share
they
in the
don't,
power.
they
They're
don't
talking
perceive,
integration. I think.
but they don't perceive a contradiction because
Just want to jump in, feel free to jump in and give your perspective on this, or just your experiences. If do you feel connected to brothers? Do you feel that? I think the sister princess, before she had her mic cut, was saying that there are many sisters who feel reluctant to speak because they'll be shut down. You won't be shut down. This is a place to listen, and obviously, someone like me, my role is to take information and try to put it in a way to better educate black men generally. So you're always welcome. But we did try this before a few years back or a year back, and we really understand sometimes it does take a lot of courage for the sisters to come and give their testimonies. But this is a space for you, so we'll carry on listening.
the whole struggle of black people until, I would say until recently, has been defined as trying to get in to, we want to become a part of the society as though it is possible for people of color to become a part of the society. Now, some black behavioral scientists are saying, on the basis of having made an analysis that the system is one of white supremacy, in which none of the non-white people in the entire world, who happen to make up 9/10 of the total world population, none of the non-white people can actually integrate into the system of white supremacy because it is just that, maintaining white supremacy. Okay, so now within that context, then some black people are rethinking the position in terms of, now, if I am talking about the overthrow of white supremacy as a system worldwide, then what does it mean for me to not only marry, but for me to have sexual relationships with a person who, whether they are willing or not, are participating in the maintenance of white supremacy? And some of us are taking the position that if a white person really says that they like a black person or a non-white person, then they will abstain from sex and they will abstain from marriage because they perceive also their position within the white supremacy context is, as long as we have a system of white supremacy, then white people, when they relate to non-white people, are relating at a level of unequals.
But you're
and
saying,
until it's equalized, then something else is happening. Do you see what I'm saying? In other words, the non-white person who is in bed with the white person, thinking that they are bringing about a humanistic union, are really bringing about their further subjugation, because they are thinking in the act of sex that now we are one and now we are equal. And so when you find that those people who are in bed with white people, when they get out, like you said, they are negative, and you can make a diagnosis. If you see a black person being very, very negative when they are, you know, with other black people.
This is in all cases? I mean, you're sort of making a political, but you're sort of making a political statement.
But his brother, he seems to be bent on this. Not all. I do wonder, maybe it's a close to home kind of thing. I don't know. But he seems to bring up not all. I'm always worried about the brothers, seeing that every time not all, when someone's trying to do a collective analysis of a concept or an idea or an observation.
But you have to
agree with the brother.
I'm saying that the act of sex is a political act.
Yeah.
Do you see? Just like
when
every
it's
other
between
act.
people of blacks and whites.
Every act is a political act, because when people relate, they are always relating on the basis of power. Do you see what I'm saying? Whether they are aware of that or not. You can never get away from that. And so even when people of different colors are relating, the question of power is brought into play. For example, the French, in terms of maintaining colonial domination in Africa, Arnold Toynbee has written about this, that they made it a policy, if the black man, you send him to the, the African who's in a colony, you give him a high school education and send him on to the university in Paris. He comes back and he says, all right, now I'm a Frenchman and I want to be free. I'm educated. I know as much as a colonizer. I want to be free. That you can cool him out by giving him a white woman. Do you see what I'm saying? And we see certain phenomena going on in the society today where black men who are married to white women are being given positions that black men who are not married to white women are not being given. Why? Because the white system perceives that that is a safe individual. Why? Because it is not only compromised in bed, but he is psychologically compromised. I mean, anytime you get in bed with somebody, sex is a very profound human act. And it has extreme psychological implications that spread into your, what do you do in the area of economics? What do you do in the area of entertainment?
Why do we assume, though, that if a black man goes to bed with a white woman, he has to be assuming that she's superior, or he has to feel that?
He doesn't have to. She is superior.
Yeah, but suppose in his relationship with her, does he have to feel that he's coming from the inferior position? What about...
She can take him anytime that she wants.
What about just the biology of it?
If she gets angry with him...
What about the biology of it? That is, that he's involved in a sexual union that doesn't have political dimensions or meaning.
It does have political
even
dimensions.
to him psychologically.
Well, maybe if I'm saying what Dr. Welsing is saying, maybe she's saying that that's not conscious, but the dynamic cannot be eliminated on a logical basis. I mean, on a conscious basis, you can't say that unconsciously my behavior is not determined by something that I'm not aware of.
Okay,
like a lot of people say,
you're
well, this is
assuming
love.
that all black men then got this feeling of inferiority in them.
All non-white people feel inferior. See what I'm saying? All non-white people who are within the system and the dynamic and the power of the system of white supremacy, until they consciously work and struggle with themselves, and even then, are going to feel inferior because functionally we are inferior. Let's say you're a professor at Harvard, I'm a professor at Howard, physician, psychiatrist. I take the position that we are functional inferiors. In spite of that, even compared to the white person who has a grade school graduate degree. Why? Because within the political power system, they have more power to control what happens to their lives than you and I have to control and what happens to ours.
What about the fact that a lot of black men say that they are going with white women and so on because they're trying to get back at the system, or they're trying to get revenge, or this is really a hostile act and it doesn't...
I've heard this when I was actually debating in Speaker's Corner, and it's like some people try to present, say, this is a way to get back at the European man because he doesn't want you with his daughter, and to create children that's non-white and they don't like it. And I would say that the act of marriage and that should be an act of love where someone is chosen for the right reasons, but also you're funding someone for a lifetime and they're going to inherit the things you do. So it seems like it's quite a generous act, really, and it's not really a hostile takeover. If anything, the reverse is true. You're giving away your assets, and there's many examples of Europeans taking assets from black people. Michael Jackson is a perfect one. What's his name? Quincy Jones. We've done a case study here. Also the political affiliations as well. So Bob Marley's son, one of them. I want to say Ziggy, but I'm probably wrong. Shame on me twice for forgetting. But he's married to an Israeli woman, and you see with his posts and certain things, he's a very pro-Israel publicly. So that's something that probably a Jamaican might not know. Depends, might not be silent on, or might be more so towards affiliated to the ones who have the highest victim ratio when it comes to death. But I guess that's once again politically, the Bob Marley's son is now pro-Israel, and one would assume it's because he's married to an Israeli woman. So this also happens as well, and that's an interesting dynamic. I don't know if you've ever seen her be pro, Jamaica and stuff, or black nations. Maybe I haven't checked it, but we'll see.
The fact that they see it as a confrontation with the white system, and not as something that they're succumbing to as an inferior person, that they're asserting, in a sense, their manhood, or saying they just have as much right to have a choice about the women that they want, that white men used to have and still have. The white men can have white women, and they can have black women, they can have anybody they want. But black men were confined to black women, and they couldn't even have her.
Well, let's
when
say
they wanted
this.
her.
Let's
But
say this.
now,
Some black men
the
say they're
vistas are
super fly.
opening.
Some say they're shaft. Some say that they're super nigger and that they have power that they don't have. That's a fantasy. You see what I'm saying? We can say a lot of things. I can say, for example, I'm a psychiatrist and I'm free. Does that make it a case? No, it doesn't. The proof of what is it that I can do for myself? Can I protect my children? Can I protect anything that I call mine? The ultimate answer to that is no. So that we can say a lot of things, black men can think that they're doing a lot of things. It was not black men who said that white women could come now into the black community and start picking up whatever black man they want. The black man didn't have anything to do with that. And if the white supremacy system tomorrow morning wants to turn it around and say all white women come home because it's essential to maintain white supremacy, all white women will go home.
But don't you think, Francis, that psychologically, if white women have been forbidden to black men by oppression, if the black man has access to the white woman, that will make him feel more psychologically free?
It will fool them more.
system.
Let's say, for example, if you tell me,
He
Francis,
said
you're
psychologically free.
well, that's not, well, wait a minute.
He didn't say functionally free.
No, it's a fantasy, and then it's a psychosis.
Is
Do you
that
see
right?
that?
What
Right.
do you
In
mean
other
by
words, if you
psychosis?
are operating, just like they tell us in psychiatry.
That means a loss of contact with reality.
Are functioning, if you are functioning on something that is not reality, then you've had it.
Well-
Okay? Now, but this is something that the white supremacy system understands. You see what I'm saying? They understand. Well, now we programmed these victims to feel that if they get a white woman, they will have it. Like a black cat told me who was graduating from graduate school at Harvard, that marrying a white woman was a part of the Harvard degree. In other words, I'm really in. Do you see what I'm saying?
Part of
All right.
ascending up.
The brown sister taking note of how to deliver a point. The sister is undefeated on TV, as far as I can see, but very, very well at presenting her arguments and where it comes from. It's kind of simple. This show is about a sister space, sisters communicating how they feel as regards to connection with black men. If they feel really connected, do they feel black men provide and protect them? Do they feel like they're the number one choice in black men's world collectively? If not, then it's the role to listen to what they're saying and try to have black men lead in correcting black men, or directing black men, I should say, into a more cohesive way of operating and protecting black sisters. And one thing that was said was making rewards so black women feel rewarded in the loyalty they have demonstrated for many years.
All right.
in the
Now,
system.
In
the
his mind.
system has
In his
programmed us
mind,
to
or-
think that. Just like it programs the black woman to say, all right, if you have a white man, that really means that you are in. Nonsense. Do you see what I'm saying? Because white supremacy is going on. And white supremacy will go on and victimize your children and your offspring, is irrespective of what you were doing in your bedroom
That's
activity.
true.
And the white supremacy system further would like the non-white and the black man to think that his phallus, or his penis, if you will, is equal to an M16 rifle, which is what he maintains power with.
But Francis, you don't think it's possible for a white woman and a black man to be involved in a relationship as individuals without all of this stuff?
No more than it is for a black man and a black woman to think that they have
You're
got.
saying all these things
We
are always
don't
going
know.
on.
In other words, when the black man and the black woman decide that they are in love, you know, all those feelings that we call love. What we call love is just that historic programming, you know, what parent we were tied to and whatever dynamic was going on, and then we go and pick somebody who turns on those same feelings. And we call those feelings love. But that doesn't, just because we call it love and then glorify it, doesn't mean that we cannot understand how those feelings got programmed in that way. And so a black man and a black woman, particular people who've had particular experiences, meet on a sunny day and they say, we are in love and we want to go off and get married, as though white supremacy as a major dynamic in the world has disappeared. Oh no.
But we don't have proof that most black men are programmed that way.
Do we have
See?
9/10 of the people in the world controlled by white
That's true,
supremacy?
but we don't have proof
Well, wait
that
a
the
minute.
black
What does that
man
mean?
is programmed.
What does that mean?
That is, we don't have the statistics to validate black men all wanting to rush after white women.
Wait a minute. Look at. Let's be honest. If we look at what is the dynamic that goes on in the so-called black community, or more amongst black people, what is still, you know, in the quiet recesses of our thinking, what is considered as beautiful? Still light skin, and still straight hair. Well, what does that mean? See, that just means that the black mother who trained her son, you know, I have a friend who says that his mother programmed him down in Oklahoma, you know, just looking out the front porch. To the girl, black girl who was light-skinned, straight hair, there's a beautiful girl. To the black-skinned girl with the kinky hair, she wouldn't say anything. Do you see what I'm saying? So that kind of programming, this is what I'm saying, that all of this goes
Gets
on.
involved in love.
All of this is involved in love. Who is a suitable choice? What kind of woman does a professional man marry? You see, you can just survey. All we have to do is look at the phenomena of the social laboratory.
Yeah, that's true.
And say, well, who are the people, that particular people pick to marry? And we can understand that the dynamic of white supremacy is intact even when a black man and black woman are in bed. I've talked to black men who said when they're in bed with black women, they're thinking about Doris Day.
Oh, really?
I mean, well.
But Dr. Busan, you must admit, that there are some black men.
See, this is nothing to be ashamed of. We have got to stop being
who
ashamed
exclusively
of
don't
truth.
like any female who is not white. Now, I'm sure that you would have to have one constant, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
if a man who is black doesn't even look at a black woman and looks at nothing but white women, and then isn't that significant? I mean, wouldn't that be significant enough to be a non-generalization?
That's significant, but see, I don't know if we can relate it all as clearly to sort of political, you know, the white supremacy.
See,
for instance, let me take it down to a personal level. Suppose something is operating like the black man and his relationship to his black mother or to his black father, where he develops blocks against black women, and then he generalizes it all to other black women, and then he gets involved with a white woman. Now, that doesn't mean that he's necessarily indulging in any form of white supremacy, necessarily.
He's not
That is,
indulging in white supremacy.
You can't assume that
He's
his
indulging in
rejection of his black mother is because she's black. He may be rejecting her for all sorts of other psychological reasons.
Let's go down and look at that. Let us look
and
at...
that the white woman happens to be there where he can displace that on.
This is very common phenomena amongst our people.
May I interrupt you? We're going to continue this next week, and we don't want to lose it. Next week, we're going to continue part 2 of Black Man, White Woman, and a couple of things we're going to discuss with our same panelists will be why so many prominent blacks marry white men and why so many prominent black females in particular marry white men. To begin this second part of what was a very exciting first part, I'd like to throw the question out. What has the increase in relationships between black men and white women done to the relationship between black men and white women, in black men and black women?
Well, I think first we should say that, you know, there's interracial marriages that take place between black women and white men too, and that's a whole area because it seems that black men always get the focus of the interest and the attack, which is interesting because I think the society, white supremacy, has been concerned mostly with the black man, white woman. So I think that's the reverse of that, the white man, the black woman, also is a subject. There's no question, it seems to me, that black women, from what I can see, all over, are very, very upset and threatened by the growing relationships between black men and white women, and that they oppose it. Now, from the black man's standpoint, I hear a lot of brothers say over and over again that first it was the white man who told them they couldn't go out with white women. Now it's mainly the black woman who's telling them that they can't go out with white women, so that they still feel oppressed. Now, for whatever that's worth, I think that's an important point psychologically for the black man, because is the black woman in this, is she more concerned with her control over black men, see, or is she concerned with white supremacy and interracial relationships in general? Because if black women are concerned in general, then they should attack just as much, I think, the white man, black woman combination.
But hasn't the black woman, to some extent, because the statistics have reversed. The statistics for black women, white men has decreased by the same percentage that the statistics for black men, white women has increased.
Yeah.
So obviously the black woman
has more cause for concern at this point.
well, maybe
perhaps.
she has more awareness, more consciousness, more cause for concern. Maybe her concern is not due to the fact she's threatened. Maybe her concern is due to the fact that she's just politically more sophisticated and more conscious of what black people ultimately may have to do, and that is unify.
That's very good analysis that what the brother said, and that's something we should remember. And that's what we're trying to say, that certain parts, black women, and I think education plays a part. Black women, women in general, have longed to be educated from a historical standpoint. And being educated, you can actually see all the parallels of how things can actually end up. So a very good analysis there of the man saying that black women's connections to what is needed for community cohesion and progression is placed forward. And that's something that it would be good to have a discussion with black men about that. Very important.
Let me just add this, that I think that the black woman's concern is related to, let's say, perhaps her survival as a woman or her functioning as a woman. That, and hopefully, I hope it's beyond that, the change in the statistics. But I think that, let us say, black men after the age of 15 are decreased in the population relative to the number of black women. Where are they? They're in Vietnam, they're in prisons, and they're dying from various causes at earlier ages than white men comparably. So that, let's say, there are a number of women, black women, who are going without adequate spouses or male partners to relate to. So probably, instinctively, black women are concerned about that. Historically, white men have not been interested in black or other non-white women, be they Japanese, Chinese, Indian, or whatever. They have been interested in sexually exploiting black women, but not really taking them to the altar, let's say, to marry them or to really fully respect them. So perhaps black women are responding to that. But I think that what is key is really what is happening to blacks, because I see the thrust of white women sexually aggressing against the black man, or from the other side, the thrust of the white man sexually aggressing against the black woman, that this produces a division between black men and black women that is going to contribute significantly to, if you want to call it, genocide of black people. In other words, if you heighten the alienation between black men and black women,
harder to organize.
Right. It will. In other words, we talk about unity at a political organization level as being one kind of unity, but there is another kind of unity that is much more fundamental, and that is the unity within the family unit itself. And we have been denied the opportunity to really have functioning family units since the onset of white supremacy.
Let me ask one question. Let's talk about the contemporary family unit of a interracial couple in today's American society. Where in the black community, we have to admit that the black community is much more nationalistic, or very nationalistic, and that the black community is not receptive as it once was to interracial groups. The white community, I would say, has moved to the right to a very great extent.
You mean seemingly to the left? Do you mean to be more receptive to?
No, more reactionary to
it's more
interracial
reactionary.
couples.
No,
I'm talking about the middle America. I'm not talking about a few New York sophisticated interracial couples or San Francisco. These, I think, are just islands. Are surrounded by
I would
very
disagree
cautious
with that,
white
Tony.
communities.
I would say that white people have moved to accept black men and white women to a greater degree than has ever been evidenced in this area of the world. And that is across the board.
Then does a black man...
And I will say that there's a reason for this. They are being conditioned by the kinds of movies that are being made these days, where you have black men and white women engaging in sex on the screen or other kinds of relationships. That the white community, in other words, those people who are responsible for getting the masses of white people to do those things that are necessary to maintain white supremacy, are conditioning them to accept this phenomena. Do you see? Because they understand that the black man really is being psyched out of position. He is being psyched to think, when he asked for black power and liberation, and they said, no, we're not going to give you power, but here we will give you the white woman. And the black man was faked out of position, just like many people are faked out of position. You say black power, I'll give you a $15,000 job. You don't have power, you don't have self-determination, but you have a program or a grant. Do you see what I'm saying? In other words, you ask for this, but I give you this because you really don't know what you want.
Well, then are you saying
or
that
you
the
don't
children...
really know what constitutes power, or you really don't know what is the dynamic of the system. A lot of people think that the dynamic of the system is money. Money is not the dynamic of the system. White supremacy, or the maintaining of white power throughout the world, when whites are outnumbered 9-1 by non-white people, is the name of the game. Color is the name of the game. But we don't, I say that across the board and around the world, non-white people have not understood the significance of the color dynamic and how white people have taken something that they are very intimately concerned about. I say that the fact that they cannot produce color, that they have decided that they're going to dominate everybody else who has this genetic capacity, who can genetically annihilate them. You see, comes one drop of black blood makes you black. That is a statement of the genetic dominance of the capacity to produce color over the inability to produce color.
And occasionally you'll find, I guess Francis has encountered this too, you'll find white women who have a preoccupation and desire to have black babies.
And white men have a desire to create children.
Well, let's
of
talk
color.
about the first. Let's talk about the obsession, if I may use that word, on the part of a white woman to have a black baby. Now, what would...
Very interesting breakdown there. We're looking from Francis Wilson and the other guests. This is a sister hour. We're dedicating the time for the sisters to give their opinions. We had a sister jump on, but halfway through she got cut, unfortunately. Some sisters say they want to join next week, but by all means, any sisters want to jump on and give their analysis or give their opinions or their feelings on where they feel the black community are at, and if they feel connected to the black men, and if there is a disconnect, what that might be, and you know, how we can move from the next step. But listen, we're going to end the show in like 12 minutes or so. That rhymes. So, yeah, there's probably like 20 minutes left of this, so we might not watch all of it unless you really request it. You can always Google it and find it. But definitely want to be listening to more Frances Cress Wilson in general, and buy her book, The ISIS Papers, one of the most best-selling books, at least from the conscious community. Listen.
The psychological dynamics be in a case such as that?
Well, I think, you know, it's hard to tell without really just picking an individual case, but it may... Go ahead, Francis.
Well, can you? Have you ever had a case?
Yes,
I've had
black psychiatrists who say that white women don't say this to white therapists.
To have black babies.
But white women will say this to a black psychotherapist. I want to have a black baby.
Why?
I say why? Because white people, if we look at the skin color white is the genetic inability to produce color. It is a genetic deficiency state. It is a form of albinism. It has never been discussed in this way, but genetically, biologically, this is what it is. White people they don't have the capacity to produce color. They wish they could. This is why they spend a lot of time sun tanning, makeup, all of that is trying to give color to colorless skins, okay? Now, because they have this deep psychological need, they are the only people in the world, they are the minority in the world who cannot produce color. And so they can't produce it, they can't make it on their own. They try to suntan, and then at the sexual level, they have attractions to people who can give them the illusion that they have participated in the production of color. So the white man has gone all over the entire world, having sexual relations with every group of non-white women that he meets. The white woman, when she has been allowed to, sexually aggresses towards men of color.
She is allowed to.
And so then she gives vent verbally to that fantasy. I want to have a product of color because this is the one thing that I can't do.
Francis, how much is color the issue? I think that...
You can't move
No, I know
color.
okay, but what I'm trying to do is bring in other elements. That is, there's also, I've seen in some of these women a desire sort of to play a model role or a really superhumanistic one. That is, they want the world to be colorblind, so they want to get involved in producing black children and raising them.
If they want the world to be colorblind, what is the focus on color all about? If the world is colorblind, what is the point of talking about having a black baby?
This is some of their rationale. What I'm saying, I think that some of it is political in their minds. That is the time that the civil rights movement was talking about black and white together. And that was a political position that people almost felt forced to have interracial relationships. And that was considered to be in the forefront of the whole thing.
Well, may I ask the question?
Both blacks and whites.
May I ask the question?
They were both involved.
You did quite a number of investigative studies. I remember reading one in Jet magazine on the interracial relationships in the South during the civil rights movement. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, was there or is there a phenomenon of black leaders and white women?
Well, I don't know if it's phenomenal. Let me say that I would say a lot of the black leaders and the rank and file were involved with white women. There were also a lot of white men involved with black women, but I think the main group, that is the largest group involved, were black men with white women, and that this created a lot of problems. And I think it had a lot.
That's important there. So we're seeing a historical consistency there in once again, as a community, placing value in black love. You see, that's why everywhere I go on the show, I try to make that. If I know I sound like a record, but there's the three fundamentals: black families, black health, and black economics. And if you don't have purpose and consistency, then what happens is other elements will take over your mind. So if the world is governed by anti-blackness, eventually, just left alone, the majority of activities black people do will be anti-black. And even in the process of picking a person, black people I guess today are shamed in the concept of picking members of the community, and they have the love has no color, this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's, you realize that as time goes by, you're conditioned to not do behavioral patterns that work in the collective best interest of your group, but other people groups have, by osmosis, have ways to operate that maximizes their betterment, and that's very interesting. And that's why you have to place constructive black man and constructive black woman as a pillar of an ideal in your community, you see, and reward it, like the sister says, reward these elements.
A lot to do with development.
We'll listen to 7 more minutes of this, and then we'll call it a day. Unless anyone wants to jump in or listen to more, let us know. This is the Sisters Corner kind of time. So we've dedicated 2 weeks to 3 weeks to just have the sisters give us their the history. And sometimes it might take them long. Sometimes it takes a lot to to jump on a public place. But you're in a safe space here. So if any sister want to speak, let us know.
Of the black consciousness movement.
Well, didn't it have a lot to
What
do?
did it have to do with it? Wait a minute. See, there are people, for example, who are looking at the thing that has cut significantly into the quest for black power that went on in the 60s has been the unleashing of white women and saying that now you go out and have relationships with a black man to cool him out.
Yeah, it had
in
political
terms of
significance.
all right.
No
so
question about
that
it.
let's say, for example, the white woman, if you talk to women who are the furthest left, white women, who are in the women's liberation movement, peace movement, or any anti-war movement, if you say, look, what about eliminating white supremacy as a system? They have no use for that. They have no use even for the black man outside of the context.
Say they will, but I don't know
Wait
how
a
much
minute.
they're doing.
It has been my
Sister, this sister, like I said, is really on point. Really on point. Like, yeah, really on point. Like, I've read many of her stuff after the fact, but through doing my own analysis and then hearing her, it seems to correlate. And I guess that gave me some kind of like, okay, I'm onto something, because the sister really, before I even thought of it, she was born before me and did the work before me, but I caught her work after the fact. And, it really is correlating with like what I found as well.
My experience, maybe yours is different. It has been my experience that white women will talk about in the war in Vietnam. When you say, well, that's a war to maintain white supremacy, then they don't want to have any trouble with looking at it in that way. When you say, well, look, the way that we have analyzed the problem is it's not a question of who has the money, it's a question of an established system to maintain white power, and that this is what is raising havoc all over the world. For the vast majority of people. Do you want to eliminate that? No, because the white woman understands that the black man is not even going to feel towards her as he does unless there's white supremacy, and unless he feels in his powerless position that he is gaining power by making an alliance, be it marital, sexual, or whatever kind of alliance with the white woman.
I think that they feel that maybe unconsciously. But there's no question in my mind that with a lot of the white female workers in the movement, even though they were involved with black men and sometimes married to them, that a lot of them had a lot of racist ideas and feelings. That is, frequently the attention of the black men made them feel very special. heighten,
like you called it the
their
African
sense
queen
of,
or the white African
yeah, the
queen.
white African queen, heighten their sense of feeling special.
You mean attention they
Right,
couldn't
you
normally
see,
get from a white
because-
man?
But look at this,
And
let's
then
look at
the
that
old
in
thing about
relation.
white women frequently who were unattractive, who came into the black community because the black
could be
men would
ugly or
adore
fat,
them
but a black
because
man
they
would
were
think she
white,
was beautiful,
but the
right.
black men thought she was
That's
beautiful.
right.
And that's still operating frequently, sometimes in subtle ways, so that you can sometimes get, I'm not saying this is true of all white women or anyone, but this is an example. You can get a very pretty white woman sometimes who internally thinks she's no good.
Why?
For a
Because
lot of
she
reasons,
has been
who
devalued
might
by
get
the white
attracted
man.
to black men.
See, white
So it's
women are
not-
asking
it's-
for
it's runs
liberation.
deep
They're
sometimes.
asking for self-respect from their own men. Okay, because a white man not only had to be dominant to all people of color, he also had to dominate his own woman in the process. And so white women are saying, we want to be liberated, or we want to make ourselves equal to you. You see, I think that that is a major
are you saying that- are
dialogue
you
that
saying
is
that-
going
are
on.
you
The
saying
white
that-
woman is
But
saying
don't,
she
don't
wants to
some
be...
of them want to rid themselves of the racism? Isn't this important,
No, see,
particularly
no, that's
when
like-
they're raising their children? I mean,
No,
wouldn't
they
you think
don't want
that-
to rid themselves of privilege.
Which
You
is
see,
white
and this is
supremacy.
why there was a study done recently where white women are still teaching 3-year-old, 2-year-old white children that it's no good to be black and that black people are niggers and this and that and the other.
But what about the white parent of a black child? I mean, that white parent would have a vested interest in at least trying to deal with their racism so that they will raise
You
their,
would think
their
that.
children unscarred.
You would think that.
Now, all of us know, people from interracial homes. I mean, they're not all, brainwashed into being white.
No, they
That some-
can't be
most of them
brainwashed into being
have
white because
have
they're all
identifications
non-white.
in
All
being
of them
in being
have
black.
marks of being non-white products. Either their hair is curled, their lips are broad, their nose are broad, or their skin is dark. Black genetic material is always going to leave its mark. And the children are always non-white. And the children that I have seen, many of these children have more hang-ups about not being white, you see, than black children who may be the same hue. You see, because they are caught in that dynamic of a parent on the one side, a white parent who still has not given up their desire to be dominant as a white person, and the black parent, be they male or female, who when they went into that alliance hoping that they would somehow be in the position of an acceptable one now after they had devalued themselves. So that the child is in...
I don't know if...
Well, she's
See, what I'm saying
just for
is-
purposes of conversation.
Yeah.
Nobody can say all of
I'm not
anything.
saying
you're
I
all,
know,
saying.
but it's important that if we're talking about it, it makes it seem as if these are
Well, let's
like the
look at it
major
this way.
dynamics.
Non-white children who have had white parents, all of us, everybody in this little circle, has had some white intertappings into their genetic stock.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Now, in the vast majority of non-white people in this area of the world have had white intertappings, so that it really is not significantly different than what happens actually in the white home itself. The dynamic is still the same. So that you have light-skinned, dark people feeling devalued because they have color. Whether it occurs in some illegal alliance of a white man having something to do with a black woman on 14th Street in Washington, D.C., or in Mississippi somewhere,
see,
or in Harlem, New York, or
there's
Fifth
a
Avenue,
black
or
parent
wherever.
involved too.
But
See,
what I'm saying is that,
I-
see, we cannot take any of this out from what is happening at a global level. See, one thing that has happened in psychiatry, that we have been tied up with somebody by the name of...
I don't know if it's like a parallel, but notice how the sister is on point with the analysis about the interracial and the black man and stuff. And maybe the brothers here are playing European advocate just for entertainment purposes. But you kind of see that kind of, I see that same dynamic when I'm around. That's interesting, that. Very interesting.
Sigmund Freud, who I'm sure made some very significant contributions in terms of looking at human behavior or behavior. Some significant contributions, but he got tied up in talking about behavior comes from within the individual and only indirectly from what is happening outside of the individual. So he called it the sexual instinct, okay? But there are other people, fortunately, now who are coming along.
While we
and
have
who
time.
Are, okay.
Yeah, but we're
While
not,
we have time.
we're not completely controlled, by the externals. I would like to think that we have some power over determining and understanding
have power
the
over what we don't
processes
understand.
that affect us.
While we have time.
But I don't consider
Yeah.
myself a complete sort of a robot who's affected by racism and don't understand it. And I think a lot of people like that, both some whites, but not a lot of them, and a lot of black people can understand or feel what's going on. And I think that's why you get some black men who are very aware about a lot of racial things and their blackness, who may get involved in those situations.
If I were going to end it there, been very important. We give thanks to people. A lot of give thanks to Sister Princess who jumped in. Mike got cut, it seems, and hopefully she can make it next week if she's free. Big up brother Dominic. Big up Uncle Barbara. Big up brother Katari. Love. Rastafarian. Young Zenis. Leonardo. Dominic brother. Who else? She reigns in the BlackBerry broadcast, and anyone who's in the background, and other sisters. And there's a sister who wanted to jump in from the States last week. Next week you can come in. I'll see if I can contact you. And there's obviously people who listen in the background for many years and stuff. You're always welcome to jump on. This time we're asking the sisters to give you their feedback, their analysis, or just their testimony of life, just so we as men can try to better ourselves and become better men in the community. And just to demonstrate, providing, protecting, and listening, which is very key. But for those who practice Black Betterment, know that you're important. And for those who don't, know that you're loved. Until next week, everyone, Black Betterment to all, and to all Black Betterment. Oh, yeah. Have a good one. Until next week. Oh, yeah. See ya.